Good evening. You are listening live to the Extreme Movie Show. I'm your host, Rob, broadcasting to you from the Extreme Studios in the Extreme Palace just west of Orlando, Florida. And I've got the young 20-something Professor Pixel with me. And Pixel, I'm kind of out of breath here. I wonder if I should do the stream like this because tonight we're going to be doing French art house cinema horror called Lips of Blood by Jean Rollin. It's our first. Well, it's our first Rollin film, and we wanted to cover it because it's a different type of vampire film. And I'm going to say right off the bat, I think this is a very beautiful film. I love the way it's shot. It's fun to watch. It's very dreamy. I think it's very gothic, much like our Dark Shadows review. That being said, honestly, I don't consider this a horror film. I consider it more like an art house type movie, not exploitation at all, despite some nudity in here. I don't think it's hardcore exploitive or anything like other movies we've seen and talked about. But I like this film a lot. I was pleasantly surprised by it too. I know it's probably a first watch for you as well. What's your initial take?
Indeed. I mean, obviously, I found out about these movies specifically from us doing a list and then finding his name and then finding out he made 14 vampire movies. But I was interested to go ahead and dip in, give it a try. If he's made 14 of them and it's his shtick, we got to see if it's worth it. I think that, yeah, you're right. It's not too exploitive. Like we've seen some that go ahead and go for eroticism, and this does. But it's not to such a degree that it stood out. I thought it was going to.
Right.
Minute there, especially with that photo shoot, I was like, okay, are you going the full? Is the music going to start? Do.
Again, this is French, so it's going to be different, and their sensibilities are different than Americans or other countries. So you if you don't know, it's hard to say, right?
Yeah. But no, I was pleasantly surprised that it didn't take as far of a turn as I was going to. Some of the vampires in this film, they could have worn just like a little extra layer. I'm not complaining, but it's like during like some of the scenes, it's like, look, it's flapping all over the place. It's covering her head. Get her something else.
It's awesome. Human machines. Yeah, so the story, what was initially interesting to me about it, it's always on one of Roland's short list of movies to check out, and along with Fascination and a few others. I think Fascination was on a short list to check out at some point too in the future. But for our purposes here, what I liked about it was it's a pretty simple setup. You got a guy who's launching like a perfume line or something like that. I'm not sure if he's in a manufacturing or if he's a PR dude, who knows, who cares. But the bottom line is there's this launch party, and it's got this great 70s chic kind of vibe where you see elegant dresses, but yet you see navels and you see all sorts of, you see a chick walk around in denim, and of course nobody's wearing a bra. It's really a lovely time for fashion. But he sees this poster of like this ancient ruin, like by itself, and he feels kind of drawn to it, and we get a quick flashback of him when he was like a little kid. And this is the interesting thing about subtitles, because obviously you have to get a subtitled movie, and this one is, if you find it. The comment that really piqued my interest is because it's at night and it's shot really beautiful. I mean, to me, it's just automatically, it's atmosphere, it's very dreamy. This little kid walks up to this iron gate in this old chateau right there, and there's this woman dressed in white, although she has a boyish haircut, and he's like, yeah, I followed the black dog with a torn off ear or some weird shit. I'm like, what the fuck? Because it was just kind of bizarro sounding. And I thought, what's this movie going to do? And I'm like, oh, he's going to get it. He's a vampire. But she takes him and sits him down underneath a cross and stays with him all night. And then later on, he referenced this because, we flash right back to the party, and he talks to his mother, who for a split second I thought was going to be her. And it's like, hey, Mom, I know you keep telling me that this never happened, but I remember it so vividly. I was in love with her the way, and I like the way some of the language flowed in here, right? Not just because it was dreamy, because it sounds like almost something you would say in kind of a not too schlocky way, but wistful, old school romantic way, where he's like, I fell in love with her the only way a 12-year-old boy could, because she was like supposedly 16, and she sat with him the whole night, and then he left, and they had closed the gate behind him. And so Mom's like, basically, you know what the fuck you're talking about or whatever. but he goes, and this is the scene you just mentioned, and he finds out the photographer who took the photo of the picture, who's a very beautiful woman, and he goes to see her, and she's taking some. I don't know what the French term would be, but obviously X-rated photos, no penetration like that, but of a nude woman posing in their hooker boots and all that stuff, and you wonder if there's going to be some hot lesbian action and all that, but it
No.
doesn't. It's I don't have a problem with it. I don't think it's like, oh my god, a beautiful woman who's nude and getting photographs taken with those old 70s cameras. He talks to her and she kind of likes him, and then she admits, hey, I was paid a lot of money to not tell anybody why, but because I like you. And of course they make out for a moment. She's like, meet me at the aquarium in a little bit. I've got a photo shoot and I'll give you the details. So it's kind of like, it almost reminded me, and I hate to say it because I think it has really nothing in common with the film except for a little dreamlike quality, which people do not like. But it almost reminded me of Tom Cruise in Eyes Wide Shut, where he goes on the adventure in the middle of the night. And if you look at it like that kind of, and this dreamy thing, the movie works. If you're expecting blood and guts and gore and weird stuff with vampires,
No.
you're not going to get it in this film. So I really like this whole setup here in the first act going into the second when things start to really happen. And I really like the third act too a lot. But let me pause here and let you fill in some gaps.
Yeah, yeah. The most surprising thing is learning that the dad from Little House on the Prairie has a French brother.
Yeah.
So
yeah, because this guy, the main actor here, the character's name's Frederick Jean-Luc Philippe, who happened to be the name, I think, of Gordon Ramsay's head chef there in Kitchen Nightmares at one point. But anyway, now it's Jean Pierre, I think. But he looked like a poor man's somebody that we might have seen before, but he looked very Euro. This is a very European film, absolutely.
yeah. So afterwards, he goes ahead and he's being pretty much led around by this apparition of the girl that he saw as a kid. Whenever the photographer said, "Meet me at midnight at the aquarium," I thought, okay, we'll cut pretty much to that. No, because this, like I said, apparition leads him along. The whole opening of the film, we got to see these bodies pretty much all ceremoniously just brought into this
secret
undergrave
underground lair by Miss Jane Marple.
Yes.
AKA.
And it's closed. They were leaving them there. He ends up stumbling down there and accidentally opening, well, not accidentally opening it, but he didn't realize he was opening the coffin of a vampire. I don't know what led him to think, I should open this coffin. But
well, because
that's what he
would
did
in that situation, right?
Only if your name is Willie Loomis.
Willie Loomis, yeah.
There might be some jewels there, Barnabas. But no, he opens it. The vampires are free, and so you see them walking down the streets singing ooh ba dee dee dum ba dee doo. But no, they're biting victims along the way. And eventually there is this woman at a bridge who stops him, and she says, "I'm the girl you saw years ago, Frederick." And he's like, "You don't look anything like her." Does that matter? A little bit.
Well, because it's the there's an old expression about you can't go back again. So when you think about like your first love in childhood or maybe as a young adult or whatever, and then fast forward 20, 30 years, whatever it is, and you see him as an adult, and you're going, oh my God, is that really them? Because obviously with social media today, that's very easy to stalk anybody you want to and find out almost every detail of their life. Back then, when this is during like a vacation home or something, you're never going to meet somebody, right? I mean, trains are really what connected people at the time, and yeah, it's the 70s, so that air travel. But the point being is he's not sure he can trust her, and she's got this. I really am not shitting on the movie because we're making fun of some scenes because it's very fun and entertaining. But she almost has a. If you put blonde hair on her and you pulled the hair forward and all that, it's exactly like all the chicks dancing in "I Ran So Far Away" by a Flock of Seagulls. It's just hysterical to me, because you're right. That's exactly what happens. But what does he do? He follows her, right? And the thing about it is it's like we don't have a story if he doesn't. So we would do the same thing in this situation. So as a man, we can't fault him for it. He wants to know what the hell's going on. He feels like his mom's not being honest. He cannot trust women, right? And so, I just talked real quick about the vampire thing that opened up. I thought it was cool that they used real bats and they were kind of wrapped up, or that was kind of creepy. Nothing happened, but it just looked good. We don't normally see bats like that, and so he gets a +1 for that. But you see these four beautiful women, to your point, in sheer gowns or of course you can see everything with the lighting's right and everything too, full bush and top. But I don't know that I feel that it was exploitive, like, haha, let's look at these beautiful women. I just think it's, like I say, time to ogle and realize it, because all these women are just cute in their own way or something, but I didn't know the significance of the four of them or whatever. And
Yeah.
they're not like going ape shit, right? They're just sitting there. It's almost like they're modeling as vampires. I don't know how to describe it.
That's actually a perfect description. A lot of what this director does, at least from what I can tell, is pretty much has these living photo shoots. The vampires are the aesthetic, we should say, because each one of them, they are very lovely in their own way. But like as you're going through, you're like wondering, why aren't they attacking the main guy? Why isn't this happening?
Well,
So
to
they're
me, it
not.
felt like a setup, right? Like she's leading them to bad news, right?
Yeah, but is she? Because they aren't ever attacking him. And then later on, that woman, like we said, he realizes you're not her, and he gets locked in a room. Then she runs off, and they attack her. And then they open the door for him and let him leave.
Yeah.
Just going ahead. They're helping him along. Even later when his mother has him committed.
Yeah, because that does happen, literally. This scene and setup, I think there's really almost nothing better looking. I mean, nature's great, animals are great, the human form is beautiful to look at. I appreciate the fact that they made these women walk around very elegant in a single color type thing, a couple blondes, I think one's a brunette and all that. So they represent all the natural hair colors out there too, even if the collars and cuffs don't always match. And you're right about the one lady who's dressed in black, by the way, who can't seem to get away. This whole place is shot where you don't see anybody, you don't hear anybody. It's completely like abandoned, and you're like, okay, what is going on here? Is there are two groups of vampires out here? They go to the door and they let them out, and you're right, they don't attack them, because we get the mystery figure, the one that we know we saw as a child, just seeing there, and she's, how do I say it? She's not petite, she's not a pog, to use the common parlance, but she's healthily built, let's just say. It's kind of interesting because he almost has a feminine air about him, not swishy like he's bisexual or homosexual, but he's got the European flair. He's got the long hair, he's got the really tight form-fitting suits, he's very slim, and she almost has a boyish thing to her because we see that she's not aged at all. So we go, yeah, she's got to be a vampire, right? So I don't know what the hell's going on here, and I really don't care because there's not a lot of talking going on. We're just watching it, and it's kind of fun. I feel drawn into it.
Yeah, no, I feel that. And it's a very enjoyable film. Like through that, it's not horrifying, it's not terrifying. You're not scared really. Even the bites themselves they're kind of lame.
You don't really see them.
Yeah, because they don't really care about that, and that's fine. I think the deaths are a little overplayed because each one of them, even if they had their eyes like shut whenever they were initially bit, they open up in terror. It's a little dramatic, but okay.
Yeah, it's stagey deaths. Like when the guy, dies at the cemetery and he's gurgling up a little bit of blood, but he's pulling on the chime there. That's kind of cool, the bell.
It was very sad that the photographer died, though. That was sad because she gets killed by one of the people that kept the secret. Oh, she was really hot. But yeah, no.
Well, actually, let me comment on that. That's the best scene in the movie to me, one of the best, because there's a lot of nice staged pieces, to your point, which I think is a good way of describing it, because he still realizes, oh, if I can I'm out of here, I'm free. If I can get to the aquarium, because it's late at night, she's a photographer, and she's doing a photo shoot. She has access to it. Again, we don't see anybody. He's on this adventure, and we see the photographer, and she basically has like a long sleeve, like white, sort of like dress shirt, and she's wearing, I think, jeans or something, but she she's literally like on a rock where like this waterfall is passing through an aquarium, and like, her head's almost in the water and her body's arched, so her breast is thrust straight up. And I don't look at this as being erotic or sexual necessarily in any particular way. I just think it's a way to display, a beautiful woman's now dead body. And so I actually kind of like that. That was a nice little shot, because that almost made me a little bit scared, because you're like, well, what's going on? Who killed her? If they're not killing him, why would they kill her? Because remember, the vision that his girlfriend, for lack of a better term, it was the one that kind of led him into where he opened up these 4 vampire women at. So then it's weird, because they're at the aquarium and all that. And we almost feel like, I think, and I don't know how you felt about this, we almost feel like we're drawn into like a middle age type thing, because it's at night, we don't see cars, we don't see technology, we don't see the future. But he immediately goes on by himself down an escalator. Like, that was a little bit jarring. But then there's a real cool scene where he gets on the subway and he notices this dude's going out for him. He's got this dude, and I have to tie this into the fact that we've covered every Twin Peaks episode, seasons 1 to the revival, as well as the movie Fire Walk with Me. Piper Laurie died, rest in peace, and I just heard that Suzanne Summers' Three's Company did rest in peace as well. But I thought, oh my God, this is like Mr. Yamamoto, or from season 1, with a gun trying to shoot him, right? So I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but he's got a great tie, lavender tie. He's got a real light blue shirt on, and he's got the trench coat and all that. And they have a really bad karate chop fight, but he pulls the thingy and he escapes. And this is a nice little action sequence where they get to where the fountains are, where the vampire ladies help him by turning the lights on and turning the fountains on. And this was kind of kooky. What did you think?
Yeah, no, I did enjoy it. Like, as they're going through, the vampire turns on the waterworks, so that way it gets in the way. It's like, okay, that's a move.
Yeah.
You did a thing.
And the still shots are cool in that, like, they show the stairs of him running down and up with the light reflection off. It looks like a demon head or something. But, it doesn't follow him running. It just watches him where you don't see him in frame, and then he comes from frame right to left running up the stairs. And so some of these symmetry of shots, because they show him going down and then up, is kind of cool to me or whatever. But this is when I think things really start to go off the rails and make it the movie that it is, besides the artsy stuff, because the only real plot happens here when he gets home, he's soaking wet, and his mom's talking to him, thinks she's crazy. She makes a phone call, because she's like, well, clean up and then come out here when you're warmed up and I'll listen. Well, that sounds like a nice mom, right? She has his ass committed, literally, and they drag him off from the funny farm. This was pretty funny to me. I'm like, what the fuck? Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, no, with the funny farm, where life is wonderful all the time. Yeah, no, and once he's taken, like I said, these 2 nurses come in. You can tell it's the 2 vampires, the twins.
Yeah.
Yes, the ones that aren't wearing thin sheets for clothes. They have outfits, but they're always together. But they walk in, they're wearing these masks, and you can so easily tell, pardon me, that it's them, but he just doesn't notice. But he gets taken to the doctor, and the doctor says, all right, it's time to give you electroshock therapy. Oh, it's the old ways, but they're tried and true. Okay. Your mother was literally insane, but okay. But that's when the nurses come to the rescue, pull off their masks, and go, just a quick nom, and he's dead. And they look at him and let him go.
Yeah, he sees a vision of her with a blind man, and he goes up to the blind man, and he's selling little photographs, and it has one of the same poster, basically, or whatever. So that kind of helps him figure out where it's at and where to go to. So again, it's leading him on. But when he gets to the place or whatever, and he goes down into the cellar, he sees. I hesitate to call it a shrine, but I'm gonna say that it is, because it's a coffin, and it's got some dolls around there and some books and some flowers and candles. And it's a nice little set piece we would see in a haunted house, right? Actually, this would be a very good haunted house, I think, but nobody would know what it is. And as soon as he's getting ready to open it, after he lights the candles, of course, and looks at the books and sees a picture of this girl at a young age, his mom, Miss Jane Marple, comes around the corner and then gives us the story. And I want to pause here and let you flesh this out a little bit before we get to the really cool ending.
Once upon a time, a long time ago.
She comes clean.
Yeah, she comes clean about how Jennifer was truly a young girl, forever stuck at the age of, what was it, 16? Questionable.
Not at
But
that time. Well,
yeah,
and
I
it's
know.
Europe, so no.
I don't think she really was though when this movie was made. So it's okay.
I disagree, but go ahead.
Let me look at the dates again. Oh, that's really bad. Oh no. No. Okay. Anyway, Jennifer
For
was
eternity at the age of 16. That's at the 107 mark, sir. At night, she would escape.
Yes.
One evening,
And
you met
so
her in these ruins.
yes. Because she would go out and her vampirism, she spread it to 4 young girls. Jennifer did meet him that night.
That's right.
And it turns out that he, as he ran away, closing the door,
Locked
didn't
her in.
free Jennifer, locked her in. She was stuck there. And he, all this time he's been after her, he didn't realize, led to her potential doom. But now they have the other 4 vampires. Their plan is to kill them. They do. Burn their bodies.
This is the only graphic part to it.
Yeah. And then throw Jennifer's head in there because Jennifer needs to be cut off at the head for it to be permanent. And so the mom says, Frederick, none of us are brave enough to do it, so you're going to do it. Gives him a knife that says,
heart, but I wasn't brave enough to behead her, so I tombed her in these ruins.
And now you're gonna behead her. Bring her
buried, alive, locked away for eternity. Yeah, it's a nice little speech.
Did you watch with subtitles or did you watch with the dub?
I watched the subtitles because the thing is they didn't really do anything with the story about the mom doing it, but they talked about how they moved the bodies to vaults in Paris, and they were like, but they couldn't escape, and so a part of this is like, well, wait a minute, is it? What kind of story is it up to this point? I think it'll become clear here in just a few more minutes because it's basically at the end. But if you didn't want him to know it, this is the only fault I have with the film, writing wise. Why did you basically, even though you guys got all the other chicks and killed them, and they're running around in their sheer stuff during the day, this is kind of cool, and they get burned alive, it's like, okay, this is kind of horrific, they're mean business. Why did you trust your son who called you a liar and you hid this from him? Why would you trust him doing it? And, the blondes get a death where they kind of like share a steak together, so to speak, and they're all staged really beautifully there, laying around in their dresses and all. It's really gorgeous. But that's the only thing that I found fault with. I did like the shot of them, the one whose robe comes off and is stabbed. They take her whole nude body, and so the camera doesn't try to hide the angle or whatever. They just show them dumping them in there and burning. And you're like, hey, fuck, they mean business, right? But why would you do that? Why would you trust him to be the one behead her? And then this is where you're like, I don't know. It kind of was. I didn't know if there was something else that was going to happen, but something does, and that something, sir. Now I want you to understand that this is what it moves. It's love, because when he opens up and sees her, and they have their conversation. Basically, it's you had to believe in me and see me first before I could appear to you. And so we get her telling her side of the story a little bit about, how she'd been in there and how she read books. And you get some of the, well, what can a vampire really do in this time and age while that's going on? And what made it weird was like, okay, how exactly are you gonna, live with a vampire, right? And it gets bonkers because they're running around like they're on the Blue Lagoon or something like that. They're playing around, they're having a lot of fun, they're standing up, I guess they're making sweet love. And the very ending is that they're going to take her coffin, and they're right there on the seashore. They're going to lock themselves in it, and the tide is going to take the wind. They're going to land on this nearby island, and they're going to prey on wealthy seamen, and that's it, and live happily together after with each other. And it's very boyish in a sort of way, because that's the fantasy, right? You meet somebody that you just have this natural connection to. It's going to be love. You don't worry about logistics or anything adult like at all. And then boom, you're done. And you both can do that. And of course, he lets her bite her to complete it and everything too. She doesn't force herself on or anything like that. And they're standing there going at it on the beach. I thought it was a cool scene, but I wasn't expecting this.
Yeah, no, I didn't think it was going. Like, there were obvious. He was infatuated with her. We knew that she had to do with the vampires, but I didn't know it was going to turn into a love story where we go to drift off to Sand Island. What a name.
Not very romantic sounding.
But no, from what you were saying before about us, like, those things we can laugh at, but we don't feel like this. I don't feel like this was a waste of time.
Absolutely not. It's a good film.
I enjoyed it. I think it was a very solid film, and I'm excited to check out more because I didn't know if it was going to be good, but I was hoping. You know, if a guy makes 14 of them, he has to have something. Just like Dan Curtis making vampire serials where the vampire's in love with a reincarnated woman. Is this the French Dan Curtis? Tell me.
Yeah, I think that, well, to kind of wrap it up here a little bit, I comment with Ed in there, it's worth a watch because it's artsy, and I think people, this is why I sit there, and I kind of was grousing last week when I said, hey, this is not a horror film, it's a comedy film. And we basically were trying to find horror films. This one I didn't realize was going to be slightly gothic and really more art house. It's not a vampire film. It's a film that has vampires in it, right? And it's got European sensibility to it, where they're not ashamed of the human body. I'm not even going to say female form. And I like that. I have absolutely no problem with them at all, with those two being completely stark ass naked on the beach, rubbing on each other, talking sweet nothings to each other. And the camera, like I see, is not hiding away. You're going to see his uncircumcised ding-a-ling, hand and all about and everything too. I'm being honest. That's how it is. But in America, you realize it's so triggered with, showing even side boob today and anything. It's ridiculous that, the hardcore puritanical type thing in movies today, and I have no problems with sexuality either way, and I don't think any of us do, but it's refreshing in a way to see a movie that's like this, where it goes, it is what it is, and you understand it. So if it made you a little uncomfortable during, say, the photographer scene where the girl's in her hooker boots and she's rubbing herself pleasurably or whatever while the other girl's taking pictures, that's all that's going on. It's not porn. I mean, some people could go, is that necessary for the film? But yeah, there was a lot of those kinds of pictures being taken about. People seem to forget that we had an era called the 1970s here too. The stuff still goes on today. It's just a little more desensitized to it. But I really liked it. It was a pleasurable surprise to me. I think it's a very light film. It's not deep at all. And just to close, Ed's talking about the money for it. You know what? Hey, here's the thing. If you find it, you're going to have to find subtitles. And Ed, you may have to sync it up too. That's what we were talking about backstage, because my copy didn't have them burned in, and VLC doesn't like to play certain types of burned in codings, but I had a separate one, and it's easy to do. VLC is a free media player. Play anything. It's awesome. But it's good looking to watch. Just like David Lynch is going to have weird stuff in this film. It's stuff that's not pertinent to the Twin Peaks story, who killed Laura Palmer, right? But we still loved it anyway, but some of it sucked. Like this film a lot. It was very fun. I definitely will watch more of him. Final thoughts?
Yeah, no, I echo those pretty much perfectly. I'm glad that it turned out to be an enjoyable experience. I'll never look at Little House of the Prairie the same again, though.
Well, good night, Ed. Good night, Pixel. All right, thanks for popping in, guys, and listening to that too. We'll be getting ready to start our Mission Impossible 2 Season 1 streamed episodes 9 and 10 here shortly before we go 9 with a Treat Williams special, Night of the Sharks. It's a horrible movie. Not even MSTK3 bad movie, and it may have been on there. I'm going to have to look at their list because it's that bad, and it's, of course, not American. But for that, you'll have to tune in. Thanks for watching. Thanks for streaming. Have a good night. As always, stay extreme.
This was a Jean Rollin production.